I thought you were going to say something sarcastic.
No. You actually sound good.
All right, welcome everybody to episode 10 of the Bhangra podcast. I'm here with Angela, Umar, and Nimit, and we are going to outline and review the collegiate Bhangra scene, kind of highlight some teams, the different regions of the collegiate scene, and talk about some of the beef, some of the maybe not beefs. Beef might not be the right word, but some of the rivalries, the little bit of smack talk between Nimit and the world, and just go through and recap and give shoutouts and give credit and shoutouts where the credit is due through the 2016 and 2017 season. And here we go. First off, we're going to start talking about the early on predictions and how they were just not correct at all. In the beginning, we feeling it off of last year, Buckeye was going to be coming in with a good blowout performance. We kind of didn't know what was going to happen from there. CMU and GMU had huge expectations after incredible performances, getting first and second in blowout. Same with DRP, winning Bruin. And then also an up-and-coming team in Rochester, having won Taste of India the year before. These are teams that had good grand expectations, but early indicators really didn't show that was correct. And I'd like for the rest of the panel to kind of get into it. So go ahead, take it away. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. I when I saw CMU at Blowout, I mean, I was like, when I saw them live,
2016.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah, you should clarify. But I thought they were going to be crazy forever. Like I when I saw that performance, I was like, this is their system working. Like now they have this like A and B team roster. Like they're just going to be good forever. And then but then I saw their GOT performance on video that I bootlegged off of somebody that I shouldn't have seen it from. And yeah, it was fine. But I think there was like some serious set design errors and stuff like that they needed to work through. It was clear that some of the people that are making choreography were a little bit new at it, and I think that's obviously completely normal. But I was way more confident coming into the year once I saw CMU perform and once I saw GMU perform than I was before we had seen anybody. Like before that, I thought we were going to get. I didn't know whether we were going to get smacked again or not. But after that, I mean, I was pretty ready to go. I don't know about you guys.
No, for sure. I mean, FCB competed at GOT, and it was pretty evident. I saw I was getting ready, but I saw portions of CMU's set, and I was like, definitely not what it was last year. Definitely had a bunch of new faces on the team. Do you think that was because of new dancers, or do you think that was just because of set design? I mean, it was definitely first of all, it was definitely set design, like 100%. Okay. Like that was definitely pretty prevalent. And I was kind of like, there was a lot of things. It was a pretty slower set, and the thing is if the dancers were more capable, and like not to shit on the dancers, I mean, fall comps for a lot of teams are pretty hard just because you're training a lot of dancers. But it's just it was a very slow set, and because of like the pace of the set, I think it's much harder to do a slower set. So I think that was definitely it. And then GMU, I mean, it was basically the same set from Blowout. Minor alterations, definitely different people, and then they just kind of dropped off after that. I don't really know what happened there, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I know something. I know GMU and VSB, like Virginia School of Bhangra, when they went to Sticks, like they have a lot of overlap of dancers. Okay. So it could be that one of them was a little bit more focused than the other, since there's the outcome was completely different for both teams. So
gotcha.
I don't know. I mean, whatever happened there, I don't know. But I think that GMU wasn't nearly as serious wasn't taken nearly as seriously this year as it was taking it last year.
And then obviously UNC. Oh man. Okay. I think UNC just because it's been a team that's been around for a while and is always like does well. Like they always place every year. Like they pop up every year. But I don't think anybody expected them to rip it as hard as they did at Bird. Oh man, that was nuts. Like absolutely fantastic and amazing. And yeah, UNC came out of absolute nowhere for sure.
Right. I mean, and when you talk about that Berg set, like, what do you think was the biggest change from them the year before to this year now? Like, what do you think was the biggest thing that you felt like they didn't have. I mean, other than the falling lotus of death.
I was gonna say, I think, unfortunately, I think like the biggest thing from UNC last year was that's seared into my mind is that like flower that fell. But I think I will say that I think one thing that I saw in UNC, and honestly, like both in OSU and UNC that I haven't seen in a lot of collegiate teams, is just like that sheer intensity. UNC definitely came in and I think one thing that I really liked about their set design was that their transitions were even memorable. That like literally there was like no it wasn't even like that they were on 11 the entire time. It's just they added like mechanistic twists at every little thing. Like I remember when they picked up the kunde and did that little spin with their hands, and like there's a lot of like little things that they did set design wise, but also just like they came out there to win. Like there are a few collegiate. I don't want to say few, but like
I would say few.
Okay, so there are a few collegiate teams that I watch and I'm just like genuinely like I feel like I have to take a step back while I'm watching, or like I like have to like look like give them some space while I'm watching, just because it's just there's a lot of energy. There was a lot of intense energy. I remember that chicken drop they did where they just went buck. I mean, like that's what I felt the entire time during the set, and I was like very impressed by that. I don't think I saw that as much last year.
But I think I would agree that you know, in terms of like stylistic things, I really liked UNC sort of switching it up. You know, they've always been known for being like the super clean, super VCU. You know, it's like next generation VCU team. No, but they were totally not that this year, and I think that was really nice and refreshing to see. You know, and then they took a lot of risk with their set, which I think is something that became a trend for the rest of the year for the collegiate circuit.
And pivoting off of that, many of us on the East Coast have no idea what's going on out on the West Coast. And so we have Angela here. Angela danced for DRP this past season. So Angela, can you delve into, you know, a couple things for us and give us the inside scoop? You know, the little bit of rivalry that happens between, you know, all the Cali teams. You know, we know it's there, but we just don't know the real, you know, the like the depth of it. At Legacy, Bulldog came out of nowhere and upset Cal. And whatever in the heck happened at West Coast with the Excel error and Cal getting their win taken away.
Oh yeah, it was a whirlwind of a season. The major heavy hitters, I'd say, for collegiate teams this year were UCLA Bruin Bhangra, Cal, Bulldog, and I guess DRP.
So just like throw yourself in there. Yeah, just quickly at the end. Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, sweet or whatever. Yeah,
I think we were all right.
Yeah.
I mean, the Asian girl was fire, but the rest of them are okay, too.
It was fun.
Yeah, so the season kicked off with Legacy of Bhangra, and then Bulldog coming out of nowhere. Bulldog, in their previous performances, honestly, I wasn't that impressed. But this season, they brought a really distinct style that I really respect. Has a lot of that Cali kind of swagger, a lot of, like, no F's given. And they came out with a good performance and upset Cal.
Do you think that was Bulldog coming with a huge set, or do you think that was Cal underperforming?
So I think it is a combination of both. So Bulldog stuck to doing a very traditional kind of style, and they did it well. Cal did a very Cal set, but they had a few mess-ups, and notably at the end, I think one of the guys' pugs fell off. Right. So I think a combination of both those things ended up with Bulldog winning.
Yeah, and then after that was like West Coast, right? So please enlighten us.
I mean, we got to see a lot about West Coast, man, with the with the Excel edition error. And then the whole fallout from that, Cal's win being retracted, and all this jazz. Angela, what happened?
Oh God, that was just a really stressful week. So for listeners who don't follow BTF and didn't see the huge drama that unfolded there, basically what happened was VDS and Cal were a matchup, and West Coast as a whole was a matchup competition. So they had like all these teams going against each other directly. So Cal and VDS, Cal was declared the winner of that matchup and then went on to be the overall winner. when in fact, if you look at the Excel spreadsheet that they have posted on BTF, what happened was VDS's score, the formula average on Excel was entered in wrong. So what they did was they just copied over one of the judges' scores onto the average. So it actually looked like Cal won. And because of that error, they had to retract the win and then distribute the money amongst both teams. And there's just a lot of hurt and angry people.
I do want to give them credit. Like I think that the committee did a good job of, coming out and just showing everything, regardless of the fact that the error is the error,
Yeah. I mean, like, as much as you could do in that situation, they did do. That is a good point.
And I think I don't think enough, I don't think enough people own up to it the right way. Granted, like, that was a public thing, so like I don't know if they did anything specific for like the individual teams or, But,
yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about not handling it the right way, cough, reign of Bhangra, cough. But yeah, whatever works.
Damn. Yeah. Well, next up, we're going to be talking about the ongoing battle between Buckeye and UNC, some of the other teams that made a lot of noise through the season, and what ended up culminating in what we thought was going to be a battle of the Titans with Buckeye and UNC, a blowout, but then Cal coming out of nowhere and shocking everybody. But before we get to that, I want to get a quick message from one of our sponsors. 00 Threads is a leading provider of customized apparel. Having served over 100 dance competitions and teams since its inception, 00 Threads ensures an easy ordering process and seamless delivery of everything ranging from t-shirts to snapbacks. Mention the Bhangra podcast while ordering, and 00 Threads will provide a discounted rate. Visit othreads.com. It's the word double, the letter O, threads.com for more information. And now, back to the podcast. Welcome back. I do want to give an extra thank you and a shout out to 00. They do make wonderful stuff. Working with Jamin is excellent. So I'm really glad that he reached out and wanted to sponsor the show. So the next part we want to talk about is the battle between Buckeye and UNC throughout the year. Starting off the beginning of the season, again, Buckeye had... We thought they were going to be good, but we didn't know how good. UNC coming off the flower collapse of Blowout, we had no idea what was going to happen. But the season started off with UNC winning Thushin in Philadelphia, and then Buckeye going to AKD and beating JJ there. So all of a sudden, these two teams, came onto the map, early. And with wins. Then round one between these two teams happened at Berg, and UNC took that victory between the two with an awesome third place performance. I think that you could talk to a lot of folks, and it was arguable that UNC could have gotten higher. So I know Nimit, you have some things to say about that. So go for it, bro.
Yeah, I think UNC definitely could have placed first there. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I like them or whatever, but I do think that maybe it is. There's also a shock and awe factor where you see a team that you don't expect to do well, and you kind of hype them up in your head. That is something that happens at a lot of comps where it's teams that don't necessarily have that legacy that goes with them, or I guess the name or whatever it is. The hype factor definitely does play a role when they kind of come out of nowhere. So that sort of happened at Berg. I think at a first impression, I was so floored that UNC had danced so well that in my head I thought they had won first. I think AAG's set just wasn't long enough to warrant them a first place, but that's just me. And then FCB had the jumping fiasco, the greatest jumping fiasco.
Stop talking. I don't want to
wait. I don't get to roast you about this?
Nah, shut up.
I waited the whole year to roast you about this, and now I don't get to roast you about
next week, bro. Next week.
Next week. Fine.
So anyway,
back on point.
Back on topic.
I thought UNC was very well deserving of their placing, and realistically, I think what you'll see throughout the year is it'll be 1-1 for the rest of the year, where we'll have a good performance, and then immediately after they'll have a good one. And it was extremely competitive in the sense that there was a lot of one-upsmanship. I think that they saw our performance from AKD, and they wanted to kind of shut us up. And then I felt like we had the same sort of mindset going in NDC, and then on and on and on and on. So I think this was really the start of where I realized that they're going to be our main rival throughout the year. I probably should have thought about Cal more, but whatever. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. After Berg, everybody went home for winter break, and when we came back, the teams did not meet again until Big Ten. But before that, UNC, both teams, I should say, knocked off 2 all-guys teams. UNC went to Buckeye Mela and beat FCB. Buckeye went to NDC and beat Fertile. So that kind of also, in the collegiate scene, kind of set up Big Ten. Like, wow, these teams beat these all-guys teams. They're on a roll right now. What are they going to do with Big Ten? Can they do it again, right, kind of deal? And then we'll go on to Big Ten.
I think one big point I actually want to say about the pre-Big Ten thing is just that, for people that might not necessarily know how unusual it is that collegiate teams usually beat, big-time independent teams. Because it is, I think in the circuit today, it is a little bit unusual. And so, there was kind of a feeling of a resurgence in the collegiate scene in the general circuit. I think at that point in the year where people felt like, having a collegiate team in the comp lineup isn't just a filler spot anymore. There's a legitimate contention to win. So I think that was kind of a turning point for the rest of the circuit where they kind of were like, hey, maybe these collegiate teams are really going to bring it, finally after all this time.
100%, and I know we're going to shelve this topic for another podcast, but demystifying to beat an all guys team, I know that we'll get into that in another podcast. But Big Ten came around, and Buckeye wins round 2 against UNC, with getting 3rd place at Big Ten, while also beating the likes of Fudge, Cal, CMU. Go ahead, guys, get into it. What did you guys think of UNC and Buckeye on that day?
Yeah, Umar, actually, you probably saw both of us, right? Or actually, yeah, Angela saw both of us too. Or did you guys?
I think 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th were all within 1 point. And I think when it comes to such marginal stuff, like literally half-point differences between teams, it really just depends on that day and who beat people that day, who had a good performance at that one comp. And it doesn't mean oh, I'm better than you because I beat you at that one comp. And I really do think at Big Ten that was really up, really there. I mean, CMU got a really big point deduction because somebody kicked Kunde during the set, and they dropped from placing contention to 7th or something. UNC someone during the come up on the chaw, they dropped their sup, but were juggling for it for 5 seconds. That really definitely hurt them as well. I think, even OSU did Johnson drop his sup was that at that comp or was that another comp?
No, dude, we were perfect at Big Ten.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, I know. We actually did we just had somebody drop us up. Yeah.
No, yeah, but I think it's just a matter of at that comp, especially, it's just whoever had a good performance that day. They were all so close.
Right. But how much do you think, from Angela, since you also were able to sort of see decent parts of the competition, did you feel you noticed a stylistic difference between the teams, or did you feel people danced the same and it was just a matter of who made the least number of mistakes?
To be honest, I didn't get to see any of the teams because we were so far down the lineup for DDR. I know, you guys weren't seen. I'm sorry.
Come on.
Especially you, Nimit. You weren't worth seeing.
Oh.
I respect that opinion, honestly.
Just going off the videos, for me, definitely just came down to cleanliness, who just fucked up the least.
I didn't watch Cal, but between OSU and UNC, stylistically, I'm pretty sure you were both pretty similar. Okay. So I think it really did come down to just cleanliness and mistakes, especially because y'all were going 16 on that tiny stage.
Yeah, dude, that was dumb. It ended up working out, but at practice, I can't tell you how horrible it was. How many dirty looks I got from people whenever they would run into each other and stuff. They'd be dude, why are we going? This is so stupid. I just don't understand. So yeah, thankfully that worked out. I would have been on the sidelines probably at the next comp.
After Big Ten, you started to gear up towards Blowout. Kind of get into it a little bit.
I think the mindset was a little bit different though.
Okay.
I think from our perspective, it was the biggest call out that we got at Big Ten was that our lower dancers weren't dancing at the same level as our higher dancers, which I think is a fair critique. right? And so our whole thing was like, all right, instead of focusing on, we felt like we were very confident in the set. So we thought that, okay, we're just going to spend all of our time dancing and just training dancing, right? And then hopefully by the time Blowout comes around, we'll have good enough dancing from 1 through 16 that we'll be able to outdance UNC and outdance Cal. So there's really no part of the rubric that we felt like they would be beating us at. I think from UNC's perspective, at least when I talked to them a little bit, they felt like, okay, well, that didn't work. Whatever happened to Big Ten, so that was like a complete overhaul of their entire set. And so I think that when it came down to the actual competition, I think their set had a lot more impact because none of us had ever really seen it before, right? Whereas I think that people had seen our set, and not to say that obviously we had mess ups as well, but people had seen our set, and so the fourth time, the third time that you see the same choreo, it doesn't hit as hard. And whereas when you see UNC's set, everything you saw was fresh, everything you saw was new, and I thought that had a really big impact, coming on stage. But I mean, we made some small changes, but I think they had the real complete overhaul mentality that ended up winning out.
Yeah, that definitely is the next subject. Before we get there, though, I do want to take some time to give some shout outs to some teams that didn't get enough recognition for their success through the year. Give the shout outs to the smaller teams as well. First one, I want to give a shout out to MIT Bhangra. They got second at Boston. We didn't hear from them much after that, other than they went to ADZ in the spring. Secondly, want to give a shout out to UVA Dishan. They tied for third with NEBC at Big Apple. They got third at Bhangra Fever, and then they got second at the Virginia Punjabi Mela. Surprising, I guess, to a lot of people, they did not get into Blowout. So shout out to
and their hometown,
and their hometown, everything. So shout out to UVA though for a successful season. Even without that Blowout appearance. Spartan Bhangra, consistently through the year, they were in a lot of lineups. They're in the conversation, but they got there. They brought home some hardware at Nashville, and then they've won Bhangra on the Rocks out in Denver. That looked like it was going to be a really cool comp. And lastly, I want to give a big shout out to Illini Bhangra from the University of Illinois. They came out of nowhere. They got second at ADZ, beating RVD and MIT. We'll let Angela talk about that a little bit because she had the honor of judging that competition. They then got first at Crossroads. Well, not then, I should say. I'm just saving their Nashville win for last because that must have been the sweetest by they beat Michigan and Virginia Tech, both two teams that got into Blowout, and beating Spartan as well. Angela, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about Illini and what you thought of them at ADZ, because they were another team that beat an all-guys team.
Yeah, for sure. Illini really stepped it up this year. So I judged ADZ with both Kuntal and G-Sims, and all three of us, after they performed and during deliberation, we were just like, where did they come from? The best way I could describe it would be like, you can tell when a team is out for blood. And there are only 4 teams at that competition, but MIT and RVD just didn't have that same fire. And the way ADZ's rubric was structured, it was equal for both set design and execution. So both MIT and RVD were lacking in either set design or execution, but Illini took risks, and all of them executed their set very well. So definitely it was a good one for them, left a lot of good impressions.
And now, the time we've all been waiting for. Let's talk about it, everybody. Blowout comes around. Everybody's hyped for it. And, the predictions really come down to who's going to win between UNC and Buckeye. And then Cal comes in and shocks everybody. Cal got first, UNC got second, and Buckeye got third. So, go ahead. Umar and Angela, why don't you guys start off by giving us your guys' view? You guys were not at the comp. Angela, go ahead.
Angela. There.
Sorry about that. Actually, Umar, why don't you go first?
Okay. After Big Ten, I started studying for the MCAT, so I was pretty absent after the fact, but I still watched. But the thing is, like, I only watched UNC and OSU. So, like, first of all, I'm very sorry, I can't really speak about other teams. That being said, when I watched UNC through Harjot's very blurry Instagram story, I was very like shocked. I did not expect that many changes said. I didn't expect a new Vardy. It was very surprising. It was absolutely so entertaining to watch. Honestly, that was probably one of the best collegiate sets I've seen in a very long time. And after that, I feel so bad in retrospect. But after I texted Saha, I was like, listen, man, there's no way anybody's going to beat you. You won. Like, you're fine. Like, don't worry about this. You got this in the bag. I texted him. And then he texted me back saying, "Oh, yo, dude, are you serious?" So I was like, "Yeah, dude, man, there's no way anybody's beating you. Like, you're done. It's done. Comp's done." And then they didn't win. I felt so bad after the fact. But because I didn't even watch Cal just because Cal was right after UNC, and I just kind of turned it off. And like, okay, there's no point watching anything else. But no, yeah, I mean, and so that's what did. A friend of mine on OSU was very nervous after their performance just because like one of the markers got hit or something, and then and then Johnson or somebody put like their vest up, and there was only one vest on the little rafter thing.
Yeah, dude, you're really roasting Johnson like this with this thing.
Okay, there's only like two like weird like this. It just seems like
alone, you know, like everybody makes mistakes, dude. Come on.
It just seems like the two comps that I watched that you guys were there, like.
No, but is he a nice kid?
Oh, he's a wonderful person. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just saying he did two really weird mistakes on stage. I mean, given the fact that this was like his first year doing Bhangra on the collegiate circuit, like I'm kind of impressed that he did as well as he did.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was messing with you. Yeah.
Side note, Nimit, we really can't hear you, dude.
Oh, dude, come on! I'm like yelling. I'm yelling so loud right now.
That's like however you're talking right now is how you gotta talk.
No way. I'm yelling into a pillow? How about now?
Okay, it's better. Do that.
Okay, I'm holding my computer upside down.
All right, so go ahead, Angela. Do you want to give your thoughts on Blowout?
Yeah, sure. So the only Blowout videos I got to see were the GTV ones. So I was getting all my information from the DDR group me. So going into the comp, my predictions were I thought Buckeye would get first, and then followed by UNC and then Cal. Hearing that Cal got first, I was honestly pretty surprised. Cal, I always thought, they always deliver a pretty clean set, but I thought that Buckeye and UNC, by sheer entertainment value, would have placed over them.
Dang. Well, sorry to disappoint you. It's kind of awkward now because I feel like I let you down, But it's
you did. I was in a period of mourning afterwards. I was like, man, how could you do this to me?
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. I take personal responsibility for my actions. I guess I think honestly, I would say I felt the same way that Umar did, where after we performed, I was like, I could have gone better, and then after UNC performed, I was like, this is game over. So I think we should go to Sid because what happened, dude? What happened in that meeting? Not that Cal didn't have a good show. Obviously, they had a great set. They had a great performance. I thought that they did their set extremely well, but. For people in the crowd, I think it was kind of surprising. So, yeah, let us know what happened. Because honestly, I don't have a first place trophy in my house, and I don't really understand why. So, if you could please set some up.
You don't understand why yet you thought that UNC won.
Yeah, that's true. Or second place trophy. I guess
I'm only going to speak for my own opinion. I'm not going to get into what anybody else said. People are generally pretty open about their critiques and stuff. So if you want to hear it from anybody else that was there, you can definitely hear it from the real horse's mouth. But I'll only speak for myself. Blowout was a very fun show to watch. The 3 placing teams were great. I'll just quickly go through with the 3 and what I personally thought. Buckeye had a wonderful set. Didn't connect A to Z and flow the way that I really wanted it to. I think it was just a little choppy randomly at points. That and honestly just bits of cleanliness, dancer discrepancy in terms of like not executing the same was really what put them out of the top 2 for me personally. Now UNC and Cal, 2 completely different style sets. UNC was very, very in your face, very high energy. I think it was very evident that they were bringing the heat. The Mela scene was awesome, really nice collegiate theme. Going off of their school, Vardy were awesome, and they just did some really cool things. But at times things got a bit repetitive. Some of their drops, similar footwork, similar approaches. It got sometimes a little stale, if that makes sense. And then with Cal definitely played it a lot safer. They brought, I would still, even though they brought it safe, they brought a very fresh routine. Like, it was very fun to watch. And I know everybody watches the Harjot videos, the GTV videos, but I do think it would also offer a different perspective if everybody were able to see it from the judge's vantage point, because we were able to see formations a lot better. And their formations for a 12-man routine were excellent. They really utilized formations to their advantage to highlight certain things, have different effects and mechanisms going on throughout the set. The little cutesy thing with the guy in red during Jummer, they're doing things that co-ed teams do, but it was just very fun to watch. And one of the biggest things that they had over UNC was they executed better. When it comes to the fundamentals of Bhangra, they did that better, and while Blowout promoted the risk taking and going outside the box and everything, UNC, for the judging panel as a whole, not me personally, UNC made a few too many mistakes on stage, right? The blue girl with the Kunde pickup, and she again did something pretty abrupt during Jummer, I want to say, just like some mistakes that just shouldn't happen, and these things need to be buttoned up in practice. And that's really what took away from UNC's routine, and the fact that they did things a little bit, and got a little repetitive and stale. And at this point, to be honest, everybody, I'm nitpicking. Like, I'm finding things to talk about because both performances were out of this world. So that's really what it came down to, because the point differential was very, 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 very little. We talked for a long time, and the results are the results.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I wanted to ask you a question about. Hey, can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you guys a question, or like you specifically said, where you talked about like how Blowout is a lot about like the comp itself wants to favor something where you want to do something new. You want to see something sort of. It's more gimmick heavy, I guess. It's more audience oriented, and but then obviously Cal plays first with their routine. How heavily did you guys favor that? I know the judging panel, when I think of Forge, when I think of AEG, when I think of FCB, I think of innovative teams. And so like, how much did you feel like the comp that you were at or your background affected what your judging was, or whereas you favored the cleaner team as opposed to maybe the more innovative team as in UNC?
While there is certain things that Blowout wanted to promote, right? The one thing that they've always told us is like, listen, like, we are trying to be a comp that does promote, thinking outside the box, bringing, gimmicks and awesome things to the stage to really cater to the crowd. At the same time, they specifically told us that execution matters. The fundamentals matter, right? And here's the thing, man. All the top teams that placed that night, and even teams 4 and 5, fundamentals are there, right? Like, if you don't have the basic fundamentals of Bhangra down and the dancing isn't clean, you're not going to place, right? And so, like, from that perspective, it was there. It really came down to, as we talked about margins, especially like, when it came to Big Ten, what really separated some of the teams there. When you have the number of mistakes that UNC had, did the risk pay off becomes the question on that day. I think the biggest thing about the risk is that the risks didn't pay off perfectly for every single judge, because it is what it is. It wasn't every single judge for Cal. So like, we were there for, the whole meeting. We were talking about those two teams. At least in my eyes, I don't think Cal did anything wrong. They definitely could, like I told them, like they should have brought more heat. It would have been an easier first place for them, if that makes sense. We wouldn't have had to argue about it forever because they were so clean. They executed so well. I think it was more that UNC made it very difficult for the entire panel to give them a first place because of the amount of mistakes that they made and the risks not ultimately paying off for again, not the whole panel. Does that make sense?
That's an aspect of the rubric that may have been, I think as a captain, it wasn't as stressed in the judges meeting, where when we hear about what we should do, it's always, yeah, man, we want you to go for it. We want you to do something dope. We want you to do something crazy. Like from the competition itself, you might not hear the same, yes, execution is going to be, obviously you read the rubric, but what does the comp favor? In everyone's head, Blowout is a, audience favorite comp, right? Bruin-esque. So, I think that's something where, I think the perception was a little bit different than what the reality was. Not that it's anyone's fault, but I think that's it's like a good learning experience for teams. Going into Blowout next year, going into major competitions next year, where you just can't make mistakes. Like it completely takes away from your set. There's really no coming back from them. Especially if you make them early. So I think it's a good learning experience for a lot of teams.
I was so entertained by Cal, man. Like, I know we talk about audience reaction and whatnot. I don't think that Cal was a step below UNC in terms of garnering reactions from the crowd. Were they different? Like, again, I think that they brought two different styles of sets, right? I think that the Cal routine brought a different reaction, but like the level of impact that it had, wasn't as punchy, if that makes sense. Right. That's something that I think that, when you're sitting there with a rubric and you're sitting there being asked to judge, I think that it's different than being an audience member, than being a dancer at the comp. I find that myself whenever I dance at a competition, I still don't look at routines and stuff the same way. It's just too hard. You're not in the frame of mind. I really would argue that point that UNC was more of a crowd pleaser. I think both of them were very much crowd pleasers in their own unique ways, if that makes sense. Again, because the formations don't come out with that video, but the formations really did help that routine for Cal, make it stand out in a very, very good way. But you're absolutely right. When it comes to mistakes, man, I can even go back to other competitions that I have had the honor to judge. Mistakes are huge. It's not just to say that mistakes are huge. It's the kind of mistakes that are happening. How impactful are those mistakes? What kind of taste does it leave in the viewer's mouth? I think that's something also to keep in mind. Thanks you guys for jumping on today for this episode. It was wonderful talking to all you guys. Everybody else, we would love for everybody listening to chime in, drop a line and say you disagree with us, say something and give us more to talk about kind of deal. Make some comments on BTF, on the SoundCloud, or wherever you'd like. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Bhangra podcast. And if you have any ideas of what we should talk about, shoot us an email at bhangrateamspodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at the Bhangra Pod. Wherever, it doesn't matter. Just hit us up. If you know one of us individually, message us as well. If you like this podcast, subscribe to it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you can get the podcast automatically downloaded as soon as it hits the feed. And if you really want to help out, please leave the podcast a review on iTunes and let us know how we are doing. Thank you very much. We will see you soon.